Don't move, little toy. The raspy voice echoed through the shadows of Cornelius Wing Library. Books crashed onto the old oak floor with thuds that sounded like war drums. Harper Sinclair, the 26-year-old literature teacher, found herself cornered between two towering bookshelves where the overhead lights couldn't reach. Nathaniel Blackwood, the principal's only son, blocked her sole escape route. At 6 feet 1 inch tall, shoulders broad beneath his Whitmore Academy blazer, he looked at her like prey caught in a trap. The 18-year-old quarterback of the lacrosse team had the kind of cold blue eyes that made freshman girls look away in the hallways. "I told you, you shouldn't stay this late." He stepped closer, his expensive cologne invading Harper's senses. "My father left an hour ago. It's just us now, and those security guards are fast asleep at the main gate." Harper backed up until her spine hit the cold metal of the bookshelf. The clock showed 7:47 p.m. The library was supposed to stay open until 9, but today it had, coincidentally, closed early. She clutched her leather briefcase tighter, feeling the weight of what was hidden inside. "Nate, I need to leave, now." He laughed, a sound that never touched those ice-blue eyes. "Leave? But our private lesson is just beginning, Miss Sinclair." They were about to learn just how wrong they were about her. Before we dive deeper into Harper's story, if you've ever felt powerless in a situation where someone abused their position of authority, you're not alone. These stories matter because they shed light on the dark corners of institutions we trust with our children. Hit that subscribe button if you believe predators should face justice, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. Your voice helps build a community where survivors know they're heard, believed, and supported. The musty smell of old books mixed with the sharp scent of fear. Harper's fingers found her bracelet, twisting it slightly as she calculated her options. 3 other literature teachers had quit Whitmore Academy in the past 2 years. The official story was always the same: personal reasons, family emergencies, better opportunities elsewhere. But Harper had seen their files, studied their faces in the FBI database. Ms. Martinez's photo still haunted her, a bright-eyed 24-year-old who'd vanished without a trace 14 months ago. "You know," Nate continued, circling her like a shark, "you remind me of Martinez. She had that same defiant look at first." His fingers traced along the spine of an ancient book as he moved. But everyone learns their place eventually at Whitmore. Even the scholarship girls figured that out. Harper's breathing remained steady, controlled. 3 months of undercover work had led to this moment. 3 months of watching him select victims. 3 months of documenting the pattern. The pretty ones from poor families. The quiet ones without connections. The ones whose parents worked 2 jobs and saw Whitmore's scholarship program as their daughter's ticket to a better life. Speaking of learning, Nate pulled out his phone, swiping to a photo that made Harper's stomach turn despite her training. This was Miss Martinez during her orientation. Amazing how cooperative people become when they understand the rules. The photo showed a young woman in distress, clearly taken without consent. Harper recognized the background immediately: the yacht club where Whitmore's board members held their private fundraisers. Her hand moved imperceptibly to adjust her briefcase strap, activating the recording device hidden in the leather. "Delete that," Harper said, her voice steady despite the rage building inside her. "Or what?" Nate's smirk widened. "You'll report me to my father? To the board filled with our donors? This isn't your working-class Chicago neighborhood, Miss Sinclair. This is Whitmore Academy. We make the rules here." The sound of footsteps echoed from the main hall. 2 more figures emerged from behind the philosophy section: Brandon Whitfield and Garrett Chen, Nate's lacrosse teammates. Both were built like walls, bred for violence on the field, and apparently off it too. "Evening, Miss Sinclair," Brandon said, his prep school accent dripping with false courtesy. "Staying late to grade papers?" "Something like that," Harper replied, noting their positions. Brandon at 2 o'clock, Garrett at 10, Nate directly ahead. Classic ambush formation. They'd done this before. Harper's fingers found the edge of her briefcase, pressing a hidden button through the leather. The specialized evidence collection kit inside was worth more than her teaching salary. Biometric locks, night vision cameras, encrypted cloud backup that streamed directly to federal servers. Every word, every threat, every confession was being preserved in formats that would hold up in court. The prosecutor-grade equipment could maintain chain-of-custody protocols that defense attorneys couldn't challenge. This wasn't just recording, it was building an airtight case. "You know what I love about teachers like you?" Nate moved closer, close enough that she could see the dilated pupils, the slight tremor of excitement in his hands. "You come here thinking you'll make a difference. Save the world one book at a time. But you're just entertainment for us." Is that what the other teachers were? Entertainment? The smart ones played along. He shrugged. The stubborn ones, well, international waters are very forgiving. Amazing what happens when someone falls off a yacht at night. Harper felt Brandon and Garrett closing in, cutting off any escape route. The old library suddenly felt like a tomb. Dust motes danced in the few rays of light that penetrated their dark corner. Somewhere in the building, the ancient heating system clanged to life. "Tell me about the scholarship program," Harper said, buying time while her fingers found her phone in her pocket. 3 taps on the power button. The emergency signal she'd practiced 100 times. "Curious little thing, aren't you?" Nate pulled a key from his pocket, an old brass master that opened every door in Whitmore. "The scholarship program is brilliant, really. We bring in these grateful girls from nowhere, give them a world-class education, and in return—" He let the sentence hang, his meaning clear. "In return, they disappear when they don't cooperate." Disappear is such a harsh word. They transfer. Mental health issues, you understand. The stress of academic excellence can be overwhelming for someone not bred for it. His eyes traveled down Harper's body with possessive certainty. "But you're different, aren't you? Older. Thinks she's smarter. That's going to make this so much more satisfying." Harper quoted softly, "The powerful play goes on, and you may contribute a verse." Her handler would recognize the Whitman quote. It was her duress signal. "Poetry won't save you now," Garrett laughed, cracking his knuckles. "You should have taken the hint when we left those photos in your desk drawer last week." The photos, pictures of her entering and leaving her apartment, at the grocery store, at the gym. They'd been watching her, thinking they were the hunters. They had no idea she'd documented every single one, traced the metadata, built a timeline of their stalking that prosecutors would devour. "Here's what's going to happen," Nate said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You're going to put down that briefcase. You're going to come with us to the special collections room, the one without cameras. And you're going to learn why every female teacher at Whitmore eventually understands her place. And if I refuse, then tomorrow there will be drugs in your car, child pornography on your computer, whatever it takes to ensure you never teach again." He stepped so close she could feel his breath. "My father has destroyed careers for far less than defiance." Harper's mind catalogued every detail. The security guard who'd been paid to take a long break. The convenient camera malfunction in this section of the library. The way Nate's hands shook with anticipation. He'd done this before. Many times. You mentioned international waters, Harper said, her voice calm despite her racing pulse. Tell me about the yacht parties. Nate's eyes lit up with sick pride. Oh, those are special. Select donors get to meet our most grateful scholarship recipients. Amazing how generous people become when properly entertained. Last summer alone, we raised $30 million for the new science wing. By trafficking students. Such an ugly word. We prefer networking opportunities. He reached for her arm. Enough talking. Time for your first lesson. Harper let him grab her wrist, using the contact to gauge his strength, his balance. He was strong but sloppy, relying on size rather than technique. His grip told her everything. He was used to victims who froze in fear, who didn't fight back. One more question, Harper said, as Brandon and Garrett moved to flank her. How many girls? This year? Or total? Nate laughed. Does it matter? They're all replaceable. Scholarships attract desperate people, Miss Sinclair. And desperate people disappear easily. The confession hung in the air like a death sentence. Harper felt the micro recorder in her bracelet vibrating. Signal confirmed, backup en route. But she needed more. Names, dates, evidence that would destroy not just these 3 boys, but the entire network. Show me, she whispered. Nate's eyes widened in surprise, then narrowed in suspicion. Show you what? Everything. The photos, the lists, the yacht schedules. You want me to understand my place? Then show me exactly what that means. Brandon and Garrett exchanged uncertain looks. This wasn't how their victims usually responded. Where was the fear? The begging? The tears? Interesting, Nate mused. Maybe you're smarter than the others after all. He nodded to his friends. Hold her arms. I'll get the portfolio from the old archives. Time for Miss Sinclair's complete education. As Brandon reached for her left arm and Garrett moved for her right, Harper took one last centering breath. The FBI tactical app on her phone had been recording everything, streaming encrypted footage to federal servers, where algorithms were already analyzing voices, classifying crimes, preparing warrants. In the basement of the library, Agent Catherine Reeves and her team were moving into position. But Harper couldn't wait for backup. Not when Nate was walking toward the restricted archives, where she suspected evidence of dozens of victims was hidden. Evidence that could disappear forever if she didn't act now. Brandon's hand closed around her bicep. Don't struggle. Teach. Makes it worse. Harper smiled then, the kind of smile that made trained killers nervous. Who said anything about struggling? In one fluid motion, she dropped her briefcase, used Brandon's grip as a pivot point, and drove her knee into his solar plexus. As he doubled over, gasping, she spun toward Garrett, whose shocked expression lasted exactly as long as it took her palm to connect with his nose. Blood spurted across the ancient books as he stumbled backward. Nate turned at the sound, his father's master key still in his hand. You stupid bitch! Do you have any idea what you've just done? Yes, Harper said, calmly stepping over Brandon's groaning form. I've just given you one chance to surrender peacefully. Surrender? Nate laughed, pulling out his phone. One call to my father and you're finished. One call to Judge Morrison and you'll be in custody within an hour. One call to— Nathan Blackwood, Harper interrupted, her voice carrying the authority of someone who'd waited 3 months for this moment. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit sex trafficking, kidnapping, and violation of federal civil rights laws. You have the right to remain silent. The color drained from his face. You're not. You can't be. Special Agent Harper Sinclair, FBI. She pulled her badge from inside her blazer, the gold shield catching the dim light. And that phone call you're about to make? I'd recommend against it. We arrested your father 20 minutes ago at the donors' dinner, along with Judge Morrison, Chairman Walsh, and 15 other members of your trafficking ring. The master key fell from Nate's nerveless fingers, clattering on the hardwood floor. Behind Harper, Brandon tried to struggle to his feet, only to freeze as red laser dots appeared on his chest. The library suddenly filled with federal agents in tactical gear, weapons drawn, faces hidden behind night vision goggles. "No," Nate whispered. "This isn't possible. You're just a teacher, just another desperate woman looking for my sister," Harper finished. Melissa Sinclair graduated from Thornfield Prep 3 years ago with a full scholarship to study pre-med. Disappeared 2 weeks before college orientation. Last seen at a Whitmore Academy networking event on Richard Blackwood's yacht. Recognition dawned in Nate's eyes, followed by something Harper hadn't expected. Fear. Real, bone-deep terror that made him stumble backward until he hit the philosophy section. "Melissa," he breathed. "Oh God, she was your... Where is she?" Harper stepped forward, her professional composure cracking for the first time. "Where is my sister?" Agent Catherine Reeves materialized beside Harper, placing a steadying hand on her shoulder. "Harper, we need to follow protocol. He's lawyering up soon." But Nate was shaking his head, tears streaming down his face. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know what they did with the ones who fought back. Dad just said they were handled." "Handled?" Harper's voice could have cut glass. "The resistant ones went to the special parties. The international ones. After that..." He slumped against the bookshelf. "After that, they never came back." Brandon groaned from the floor, spitting blood. "Shut up, Nate. Don't say another word." "Or what?" Nate laughed hysterically. "They'll kill me? They're going to kill me anyway when they find out I got caught. You don't understand. None of you understand how deep this goes." Catherine pulled out her tactical tablet, fingers flying across the screen. The FBI's specialized anti-trafficking software was already parsing through the terabytes of data they'd seized from Richard Blackwood's home and office. Financial records, encrypted communications, travel manifests, all being decoded and analyzed in real time. The app's AI algorithms were designed to identify patterns in human trafficking operations, cross-referencing names, dates, and locations with missing persons databases across 43 countries. "Harper, you need to see this," Catherine said, her face paling as data populated the screen. The screen showed a complex web of connections. Elite prep schools across the country, all feeding into the same system. Thornfield, Whitmore, Exeter, Dalton, and dozens more. Each school had its scholarship program. Each had missing girls. Each had connections to the same network of yacht clubs, private jets, and offshore accounts. 47 confirmed victims over the past decade, Catherine read, but there's a subcategory here marked as specials. Harper snatched the tablet, scrolling through until she found it. Melissa Sinclair, status, special collection, location, Compound 7. Last update, 6 months ago. "She's alive," Harper whispered, then louder, grabbing Nate by his collar. "She's alive. Where is Compound 7? "I don't know," Nate sobbed. "Only the inner circle knows the compound locations. My father, Judge Morrison, maybe 5 others. They compartmentalized everything after some FBI agent almost caught them 3 years ago." 3 years ago, right when Melissa disappeared. Harper's mind raced, pieces clicking into place. Her sister hadn't been a random victim. She'd been targeted because she was getting too close to the truth. "Your sister was investigating us," Nate continued, his words tumbling out in desperation. "She wasn't really pre-med. She was some kind of journalist or detective or something. Dad found out. Said she had to be contained permanently. Harper's world tilted. Melissa had been investigating the trafficking ring. Her little sister, always fighting injustice, always protecting others. She'd walked into the lion's den alone and paid the price. "Ma'am?" A young agent appeared in the doorway. "We've got something. Richard Blackwood's attempting to make a deal. Says he'll give us everything. Locations, names, the whole network, in exchange for witness protection." "Witness protection?" Brandon laughed from the floor despite his broken nose. "He really thinks he can rat out the consortium and live? They've got people everywhere. Judges, senators, CIA, probably even—" Garrett kicked him hard, cutting him off. Harper processed this new information. The consortium. A name for the network that suggested something far more organized and powerful than even the FBI had suspected. Her handler and mentor at Quantico had warned her about groups like this, shadow organizations that operated above the law, protected by mutually assured destruction among the elite. "Take me to Blackwood," Harper demanded. "Harper, you're too emotionally involved," Catherine started. "That's my sister!" The words ripped from Harper's throat. 3 years, Catherine. 3 years I've wondered if she was dead or alive. 3 years I've worked my way up in the bureau, took every trafficking case, learned every technique, all for this moment. I'm seeing this through. Seeing this. Catherine studied her partner's face, then nodded. "Escort the suspects out. Full protective custody. If this consortium is real, they're all dead men walking." As the agents hauled away the 3 boys, Nate managed one last look at Harper. "Your sister was brave. Braver than any of us." I'm sorry." Harper felt no satisfaction watching them leave in handcuffs, only a burning need for answers. The interrogation room at the Federal Building was sterile, cameras in every corner. Richard Blackwood sat across from Harper and Catherine. His expensive suit wrinkled. His powerful facade crumbled. The man who'd terrorized a generation of students now looked like what he was, a frightened predator finally caught. "Melissa Sinclair," Harper said without preamble. "Where is she?" Richard's eyes widened in recognition. "You're her sister. God, you look just like her when she—" He caught himself. "When she what?" "When she confronted me 3 years ago. Came to my office with evidence, photos, documents, recordings. Said she was going to the FBI, the media, everyone." He laughed bitterly. 22 years old and absolutely fearless. "I offered her money, threatened her family. Nothing worked." Harper's hands clenched under the table. "So you had her kidnapped?" "I made a call. The consortium handled it. They have protocols for threats like her." He leaned forward. "But I can get her back, all of them. The compounds, the auction houses, the training facilities. I'll give you everything, but I need protection. Not just from prosecution, from them." "Start talking," Catherine ordered. Over the next 4 hours, Richard Blackwood laid out a criminal enterprise that spanned continents. The scholarship programs were just recruitment. The yacht parties were testing grounds. The girls who showed potential, either through beauty, intelligence, or desperation, were moved up the chain. Some became escorts for political blackmail. Others were sold to private collectors. The special ones who fought back or knew too much were kept in compounds, used to train new victims in compliance. "Compound 7 is outside Bucharest," Richard finally admitted. "Romania, converted Cold War facility. Maybe 15 to 20 women there, all considered flight risks or security threats. Your sister would be there." Harper stood abruptly, ready to mobilize every resource the FBI had. But Richard wasn't done. There's something else. The consortium's board meeting is tomorrow night. Emergency session because of today's raids. They'll be deciding whether to liquidate all assets, including the compounds. Liquidate. Harper knew what that meant. No witnesses, no evidence, no survivors. Where? Catherine demanded. International waters. The yacht Prometheus, owned by August Whitmore. Yes, that Whitmore, the one the Academy's named after. He's the real power, 130 years old, impossible to prove he exists officially. But he's been running this trade since before your grandmother was born. Harper felt the investigation expanding beyond anything they'd imagined. This wasn't just a trafficking ring, it was an institution, woven into the very fabric of American elite society. 72 hours later, Harper stood on the deck of an FBI tactical vessel, watching the Romanian countryside pass by. The joint operation had moved faster than any in Bureau history. Compound 7 had been real, a fortress of horror where 23 women had been held, some for years. Melissa was among them. The reunion had been everything and nothing like Harper imagined. Her sister was alive, but changed. Thin, scarred, with eyes that had seen too much, but still fighting, still documenting everything, even in captivity. She'd turned her cell into an archive, recording stories from other victims, memorizing names, dates, connections. "I knew you'd come," Melissa had whispered into Harper's shoulder as they embraced. "You always were the stubborn one." Now, as dawn broke over the Black Sea, Harper watched satellite feeds of simultaneous raids across 12 countries. The Prometheus had been intercepted. August Whitmore, or whatever his real name was, had been found in a medical pod that looked like something from science fiction, tubes and wires keeping his ancient body functional while he traded in young lives. Catherine appeared beside her. Final count: 237 arrests, 412 victims recovered, 600 million in assets frozen. Harper, we did it. But Harper was looking at another message on her phone, an encrypted file that had appeared in her personal account, sender unknown. She opened it to find a list of names, judges, politicians, CEOs, even bureau personnel. At the bottom, a simple message. Level 1 complete, 6 levels remain. They know who you are now, Agent Sinclair. Both of you. Harper? Catherine noticed her expression. Harper showed her the message. They stood in silence, processing the implications. The consortium wasn't destroyed. They'd only scratched the surface. And now Harper and Melissa were marked. "What do we do?" Catherine asked. Harper thought of her sister in the Bureau safe house, of all the girls still missing, of Nate Blackwood's tears, and the ancient evil they'd glimpsed in Whitmore's operation. "We keep going," Harper said, "level by level, no matter how deep it goes." Her phone buzzed. A photo appeared. Scholarship girls at an unfamiliar prep school, all smiling at orientation. At the frame's edge, barely visible, someone had drawn a symbol, the same one branded on Compound 7 victims. The game was far from over. If anything, it had just begun. Harper looked out at the sunrise, her sister's words echoing, "You always were the stubborn one." "Every empire has layers," Harper whispered to the dawn, "and we've only just found the first door."